podcasting from sunny Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome to Tips for Tour Operators, your podcast for growth hacks, marketing tips, and actionable insights from leading experts in the tourism industry. Welcome everybody to Tips for Tour Operators. I am very excited today because we're at Arrival and I am sitting next to somebody I've wanted to meet for a very long time, which is Oscar, one of the co-founders of Peak. Oscar, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to have you.
Thank you.
So I just have to share a story. We were talking about it really briefly. I'm born and raised in Arizona, and Oscar has actually been to a very tiny, quirky little town called Jerome, and I think that's just a great connection because it's a place I've been and a place I love. And
it's an awesome place. It's like, I was just telling you, like I found it by accident. I was I was on the interstate. I took the detour, kind of wanted to see something, and drove through a canyon, and it opened up into this place, and it's like an artist colony, and it's very hip, and it's very like progressive, and it's really, they have like a asylum that turned into a hotel, and you'd like those stories in there. It was really, really fun.
Yeah, it's a great little town. So if you've never been, go to Jerome, Arizona. It's a tiny little, quirky little city, town, not even close to a city. But so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my background is I'm originally from Germany, very much on the engineering side. So like I started coding when I was 14. Did an undergrad and master's at MIT. Love it here in the U.S. Came to Silicon Valley. Was working at a number of different software companies, small, very large, like semantic enterprise companies, and at some point got to a point where I wanted to start my own company, which I guess sort of is a bug that everybody gets at some point. And so I started looking for a co-founder, met Ruswana Bashir, who was awesome, like very different background, very much sort of on the business side of things, and very complimentary, which basically for me, it was really important to have like a strong business. You kind of need good product and you need good business. And so, yeah, here we are. Like Peak's been around for 6.5 years. I do everything around the product side of things. And so it's also really exciting to be here at Arrival and seeing all operators. A lot of them are customers. Mm-hmm. You get all the feedback, both good and bad, but it's really exciting. And also hearing sort of what's happening in the industry. So kind of taking that back to the product team so they have something to do for the next year.
Yeah, that's got to be really valuable getting that feedback. Yeah. That's really great. And you as you are, a reservation system and booking engine, you have a lot of data and you see a lot of different, websites and or lack of websites in the industry. And one of the things you've noticed is social media and the impact of that. So can you talk a little bit about tours and social media and what the impact of that is on their tour?
So I think there's a few things. I think first of all, I'm very passionate about tour and activity providers being on social media. To me, that's sort of, I think you're providing a service that makes people happy as a tour operator, right? So you should be, like Instagram is built for you, right? Like people being happy on your tour, having a great time, that is what you provide. There's no reason you shouldn't get that representation on social media. We ran some numbers and we kind of looked at operators across the US, and what was really striking to us, less than a third actually have an Instagram account, and I think it's less than like 40 or 50% have a Facebook presence. Mm-hmm. And that is something where ultimately I think you're built for it as a tour operator. It is something that you should be embracing. And it shouldn't be too hard, it shouldn't be too foreign, but it's also something that as the industry evolves, I think more and more is going to move towards social media. Mm-hmm. I think there's going to be more and more people looking on social media for things to do, trying to get recommendation. That word of mouth is going to move more and more towards social media. And with a third of operators not even being on Instagram, they're missing out on that opportunity. Mm-hmm. They're missing out on actually getting those recommendations.
Yeah, I feel like Instagram especially has become a piece of social currency with your experiences. Yes. You brag to your friends through your Instagram. So if you're going on that amazing tour or you're like on a hike somewhere, like you're gonna prove how cool you are through social media. Right, exactly. Yeah. So if somebody, wait, hold on. I just want to clarify that. You said only a third have an Instagram account, a third of tours? That's extremely low.
at least from what we could find. I mean, we kind of like do some data research, we're digging into the data, and we're kind of, but yeah.
That probably means it's probably a little bit less then. If you can't, there's probably tours out there that you, that's incredible. So how would someone get started? Maybe they have an Instagram account, maybe they don't, but how would someone really, start developing like content to put out on social media?
So that's the most common question we get a lot is like, hey, I feel like I should be on Facebook, I should be on Instagram. I totally get it, that is important. What should I post, right? And so that sort of to me is like fundamentally the wrong question, because your Instagram and all and social media is a lot about authenticity, right? And it's really something where people don't want to be sold. People are like digital marketing these days is so good, so slick. It hits you everywhere you go. The last thing people want to do is go to their Instagram, which is sort of like the fun thing that you do between sessions, between meetings, when you have a minute waiting for the bus. The last thing you want to do is really get hit over the head with another ad, right? So asking the question of what should I post is sort of like saying like, how should I advertise to these people? Instead, what I always recommend is figuring out your voice. And there's two parts to that. One is really think about who you are, right? You're a tour operator for a reason. What has gotten you into this business? Why are you passionate about taking people on that mountain, showing people around the city and, showing them the foods and the drinks and sort of the history of a place? That's something I think everybody relates to who's in this industry. They're really passionate about it. Well, that is something that's authentic. That's something that you want to share. That's part of your voice. And I think the other part is really thinking about your audience. This is sort of the awesome part about being at Arrival. I was at a Facebook talk yesterday, and one of the most interesting things they saw there was you can export your audience as a personics cluster, which I had never heard before. But a personics cluster basically it's a personics, apparently this company, and they created this 100, 200 different types of personalities. Like, so here's your soccer mom, here's your so-and-so, here's your, right, or outdoorsy this guy, and they have all these different classifications. Well, Facebook actually allows you to export your audience as those groupings. So if you can then basically go through that download, you can see, okay, 30% of my people coming to my tour are these kinds of people, or 30% of people looking at my Facebook page are these kinds of people. And if you're not on Facebook, if you don't have a Facebook page yet, that's not the end of the world. You can actually, if you have a booking system like Peak, for example, any other booking system will do, you can export your customers and upload them into Facebook, and Facebook basically will create an audience for you. Right? And then you can take that data back out, and now you know who your customer were for the last year. You have you have real data of these are the demographics. And that, I think when it comes to social media, when you start thinking about who you want to reach, you probably want to reach the people who have fun on your tour, who are coming to your tour. How do you find more of them rather than trying to find everybody else? Like, go after the ones that come on your tours. So you might be really interesting to see what pops up in that audience. You're like, wow, I didn't realize, soccer moms or whoever, You're
like, I never would have thought soccer moms would be going on those boat tours, but we got a ton of soccer moms on our boat tours.
Right, exactly. And so then, so then maybe your audience, maybe also your voice should be a little bit more towards that demographic. And then you can Google that personics, and it gives you for each one of those people like a description of that person. What is like? What are these people like? What are they? What do they do on a daily basis? That kind of thing. And that also ought to help you inform the content and kind of like how you think about if you were that person, what would you want to see?
So once you have your target audience like that, so you know who you're talking to, how do you decide how to talk to them? Like, as far as you know who you're talking to, you want to make sure that they're happy. What's the next step after that?
So I think you just start building an audience, and I think that's meaning you get onto these media and you start posting. Like, in the end, you just have to post, and the more you post, the better. And all these different, and social media is actually, and Facebook and Instagram very similar in that way to Google. Google, for example, if you post every day or every other day on a blog, Google rewards you with SEO for the fresh content. Social media works the exact same way.
Okay.
And by the way, if you do social media, you might want to use that content for your blog, and there's your fresh content.
Oh, so you get double whammy.
You should double, you should totally. You're putting all that effort in. But again, also don't do it too over polished, right? Like we have an operator. They love cars, right? They do these amazing. You can get a Porsche, drive it down on a racetrack. And they have a social media profile, but the social media profile is not like, hey, click here to book this thing. Their social media profile is all about them just geeking out on cars, like opening up the engines, taking it apart, putting it back together, showing sort of the interior of a supercar, and just really just geeking out on that stuff. And again, this is sort of why they're doing that, is because they love cars. That's why they want to share that passion, right? That's their voice. They're not trying to sell you. But the moment you start following them, you start seeing these things, then if every once in a while you add a, hey, we're in Atlanta, or we're in this place, or we have a special for July 4th, you can start sprinkling in that ads, hey, you're interested in supercars, by the way, come out and drive one, right?
Yeah.
That's when you start reaching your customers. So I think that's like, in the end, you just got to start posting. And I think that's also something like, the sooner you do it, you better. In the beginning, like, you don't have any followers? That's okay. That's great. That means you can experiment. You can try things out. And then the only other thing is like, we talked about a little bit earlier, but it's that then the consistency.
Yes.
Right? The last thing you want is an Instagram account that has 20 posts and then it stops again,
The post from 2014 and nobody's been on there since.
Right.
Doesn't look very good for that tour. Yeah, that's really interesting. I just want to recap the supercar ideas. They are really passionate about these amazing vehicles. So much so, it's like, one, they probably look really cool. They're fun to drive. And then they're passionate about the internals and how that works, and the raw horsepower. They want to see how that works. So sounds like they really understood themselves. They understood their audience, and then they know how to talk to their audience. Like, the voice that they're projecting is aligning really well with the people that would also get excited and want to go on that tour.
And it looks like that now. I guarantee you, if you went back on the Instagram feed from like 3 years ago, it probably didn't look like that.
Yeah.
Right? It probably evolved in that. But for that to evolve, you need the time.
Yeah,
right? You need to just get started.
Everyone does start at 0 followers.
Right.
That's true. Yeah. Cool. That's great. So what kind of content types work best? So you talked about they're doing video. Is it a beautiful vista picture?
So basically, the so far everything is moving towards video, right? Short video, something engaging. It's just that much more engaging than a static picture, right? Just something like, if it moves a little bit, it just captures our attention in a way that a static image never does. Instagram and Snapchats are great with their stories, where you basically really short video. It doesn't have to be polished. It's just like, hey, we're doing this and that. And the nice thing is also, those stories, for example, they disappear, which basically means your attention span is not that long. If you post a similar thing in like 2-3 months, it's not the end of the world. You don't have to constantly come up with something new and clever. There's not only so many things you can do with a car, right? But like you can keep that going with those mediums. So I think everything around video, and especially also the mobile factor, right? These videos, they should be like on mobile, like most of these, make them portrait, right? Make them look good on the phone. Social media is moving all mobile,
Yeah, I don't ever use really Facebook on my computer anymore. It's all on my phone, and same with Instagram, Snapchat. That's all on your phone. Do you think that all of the social media being on the phone is driving actual more bookings that are mobile as well?
I think it does, and I think, and that's something like when we started Peak 6 years ago, the general answer was mobile and social media is great for brand, it doesn't convert. That has dramatically changed. And so I think we're still sort of at the beginning, especially when it comes to this industry, but I think it's really picking up. And again, with everything moving towards mobile, like we had, when we started the company, 20% of the bookings in the platform went through mobile, were on mobile. Now it's over 50%. It's 55% as of this year. And so it is, everybody's moving towards mobile. And I think that's also why you want to target your social media towards mobile specific. You want to get people excited while they're on the phone, while they're waiting for the bus. Have them watch that video of like something, something fun.
And
make it easy for them to book.
Okay, that's really cool. So what type of platforms should people be getting into? I mean, there's a lot of different social media channels out there. Where should they go? Like, what's the difference between them? You talked about Instagram stories, Snapchat stories.
Yeah. So I think Facebook is a no-brainer. In the end, Facebook also is the infrastructure for Instagram. The products look very different, but under the hood, they're getting more and more similar. So the advertising engine, for example, for Instagram is the one from Facebook, right? So they're moving all of these things together. You need a Facebook presence. In the end, that's where people look. That's how you can connect. That's how you can find. It's easier to find people through Facebook. And it also allows you to run ads, for example. Like, I think I have a personal strong preference towards Facebook ads versus Google ads, for example, because when you have, you're on Facebook when you're bored, right? When you want to look for something fun, and if then an ad comes along with like, hey, do this cool tour, do this cool thing, you're like, oh yeah, that looked cool, and maybe you just saw your friends do something else. You're like, I got to do something at least as cool, right? Like, so you're have much more like in a buying moment. Whereas on Google, you're like in a transaction. I'm searching for something. Oh, there's a bunch of stuff. I'm going to ignore all the ads. We're kind of almost trained to ignore the Facebook ads at this point, And so I think the Facebook ads. Sorry, the Google ads.
Ignore the Google.
Ignore the Google ads. But I think the Facebook is sort of the basis. Then you have Instagram, which I think is sort of winning the war between Instagram and Snapchat right now. They copied a lot of things and honestly did them better than Snapchat did. And I think that's a easy platform. Again, photos, right? Like, as a tour operator, you care about your TripAdvisor reviews, but a happy customer being on your tour, giving a big smile in front of that, whatever it is, right? That says so much more than, your TripAdvisor review. We had a great time, right? Like, it is so much more. This sort of social media is so built for tour operators. So if you can get it in there, I think it's, and I think Instagram is sort of just a platform for that. Instagram is a visual platform. That is like your review platform. Like, I think Instagram is the next one. Snapchat is interesting. I think if you do Instagram, if you feel daring, then try Snapchat.
Okay.
There is sort of, I think you reach another demographic with that. I think it's harder, but also Snapchat does some interesting things. Last year, they launched an integration of Snapchat with TripAdvisor, right? So you went in Snapchat, there's a map and things nearby, and it pulled up the reviews from TripAdvisor for that thing nearby.
Oh, wow.
Now, I don't know if that actually converts into anything, but it's more that these social media presences are connecting more and more with all these other places where you can book activities and so forth. So, and I thought it was just interesting. I didn't expect that from Snapchat, and it was actually, I feel like that was interesting, and I think we'll see more of those things over the years.
Well, tours and activities are really about, the hot word, of course, is experiences.
Yeah.
And we talked about earlier, like, you want to show how cool you are in social media with your experiences. And so maybe that line being blurred is a good place, and maybe we'll see more of that as time continues with these platforms. So you shared a story with me earlier. I want you to share it again about an amazing tactic that someone had to actually get customers to engage with their brand online. Can you share that story again? With the hashtags?
Yeah, so one half of social media is obviously your social media presence. The other half is kind of coming back to the reviews. How do you get people to take their own pictures and share them and hashtag you? Because again, that's like a review, even better. Because
that's the networking of social network.
It's a network effect of them sharing it with their friends who are probably very similar, who are actually also really pumped about this. So this was a boat operator out of Hawaii, and they have their sort of like this waiting period where you get your tickets, you check in, all of that, and then everybody, because it's like 50, 100 people, they're all kind of waiting before everybody can get on the boat. Well, they had this wall, part of the building was not a very nice building, but they hired a graffiti artist, and he made this beautiful mural on this wall, and then on every ticket they just put their hashtag on it, like in their Instagram account and a couple of those things. And so all these people who just gotten their ticket, just hanging out there, bored, waiting for something to do, started taking all these selfies in front of the mural, and they got the hashtags out of that. And so now that is something that you can now you're spreading. Now you're basically spreading on social media. And then there are other companies. I just remember there's a company called Tagboard where you can actually put up a TV and it follows a certain hashtag, right? So you could actually mount that back in your office or in your, in your ticket booth or wherever, and all the hashtags start flowing by, and you see all these happy customers.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
Those are. And I'm waiting for somebody to do this really well and feed into a website, right? Like now I'm on my website, and all of those reviews, all these happy faces start popping in of people being here on my tour.
Yeah, that would be incredibly powerful.
Yeah, so I think, and this is sort of, to me, that's where I think social media is so incredibly, so much more powerful than a lot of these other like TripAdvisor platforms.
Yeah, I totally agree, because you actually see, I mean, it's one thing, like you said, you can read it, or you can see someone actually like enjoying it and seeing what that means. So just to recap really quick, we talked about just like in the importance of social media, generally speaking. Not a lot of people are on it. They should be on it because it's a huge potential just for people to see the tour a little bit more deeply, as well as the networking capability of the social network part. So they just have to get on it. Building your audience sounds like a huge first step. You just figuring out, who should you be talking to, and what was the name of that resource?
Personix.
Personix?
Personix clusters.
Personix clusters, okay. Yeah. So I'll link to that in the description below. So once you build your audience, start figuring out the content types, which video sounds like if you can get video would be amazing. Yeah. And start getting that. Also looking at the platforms, so Facebook, no-brainer. Facebook is also a good spot because there's reviews, people still do some research there. And then Instagram sounds like, everyone's just there. It's built, it's built for tours.
Yeah, exactly. And
yeah, that's really great. And then what's really cool is that idea of there's like an offline, online conversion with, having someone encouraging them to take pictures on their event, which they're probably going to do anyway. They've got their phone with them, and giving that hashtag just helps spread the word that much more.
Yeah, and it makes it easier for your website, right? By the time they come to your website, they've seen you they've seen your hashtags, they've seen some of these photos. They just want to book. You don't even have to convince them to your website. They just, excited to.
Oh, that's incredible. Is there anything that we missed?
No, as I said, I think just getting started. I think that's the harder part, and but again, the bar is low. Just try it and kind of figure out what works.
And stick with it. Be consistent.
Stick with it.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to do so?
Well, social media. Probably, Twitter. You can see me at Oscar Bruning. Instagram, and we can share all of those links afterwards. Or I have an email address, oscar@peak.com.
Oscar with a K?
Oscar with a K.
Oscar with a K.
It actually works with a C too, just sometimes people don't.
Okay, that makes sense,
They're a little confused. But yeah, and if anybody has also ideas, I think this is, what's exciting for me is this is changing in this industry, right? We're all kind of just getting along for the ride and kind of trying to figure out what all of these things mean. And that Snapchat thing was one of those things that came up last year. If you guys have new ideas, if new ideas come up, we would love to hear about them, because I think that is something that every tour operator should know about and should leverage.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So reach out to Oscar, email me as well. You got my contact information, follow us, and get started on some social media, and we'd love to see your posts. We should have a hashtag. We should see if people actually post. I didn't think about that. Maybe we'll figure that out next time. But Oscar, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great.
Bye, guys.